What's going on, YouTubers? This is Ricky J. Welcome to another video, and holy smokes, man. Today, ESBC just dropped some new gameplay footage, and I will break it down with you guys, but I just want you guys to know that the early access release for early summer is not going to happen. It's going to be put on the back burner for now as they continue to work on the game. So just be patient, and the game's gonna come out before we know it, but it's not gonna be coming out this summer. And just so you guys know, before we get into the gameplay, they announced a new boxer, and holy smokes, it's a big one. It's the Gypsy King, baby. Tyson Fury will be in the game. I am so excited, but for now, let's get into the gameplay. I cannot wait to show you guys. Here we go, baby.
So whilst we were pleased with the feedback we'd received from our March gameplay footage, we knew there were still many items to fix and upgrade, and I'm delighted to show you the progress of that now. As you can see, there's been some significant improvements to our overall venue, lighting and crowd. So throughout the rest of this video, you'll be able to see the actual controllers in each of the corners. We've put this in there just so that you can see the responsiveness of the fighters in the game. It's an area that we've put in a lot of effort because the responsiveness of the controls was incredibly important to our footwork system, and same with the punch control system. So putting all these aspects together, we needed it to flow. So here you'll be able to see exactly how responsive the fighters are, and we're incredibly happy with the results so far.
Now, before we get into the next clip, I just have to say that I'm so glad they added an animated crowd. I was getting a little worried when they were showcasing footage of this game and they were showing a dark background. So having a crowd is fantastic, and it looks great. Aesthetics is so important in any game, especially in a combat sports game, and having an active crowd that's moving around is so important. As far as speaking of movement, we're going to get into the movement details in this game, but as far as this opening clip, you see the movement is so fluid, so realistic, and holy smokes, the graphics, man. I'm just so blown away by the graphics. So this is a fantastic start, but let's get into the next clip. Here we go. And before we get into the next clip, they did announce that there will be a personalized referee, Kenny Bayless. I'm hoping they're going to add other referees as well, just like in UFC 4 and previous UFC games, they have various referees. So I'm hoping they're going to add more, but it's so good that we have a signature legendary referee in Kenny Bayless.
So the movement system is split into various states, allowing for full motion control, where pushing the analog stick all the way produces quick steps and halfway has smaller steps. But the transition is very seamless, and this is all part of our footwork system, allowing for angles to be created. However, it's all about the momentum of your fighter. Your fighter will shift their weight from one leg to the other. They won't just instantly float in the opposite direction.
So as far as this clip's concerned, I just want to say it's so cool that they added the controllers in the top right corner of their footage. And as far as the footwork's concerned, with ESBC, this is their bread and butter, man. This is their next generation, their innovative style of combat sports gaming. And I feel like it's really going to create a realistic simulation of boxing, just because people aren't going to be able to move directions really quickly. In other combat sports games, you could move from side to side, move from left and to right really quickly. Now you have to focus on physics. You have to focus on body weight. So if you're going to pivot to the left and then try to pivot back to the right, your boxer is going to have a delay as they have to shift their weight to the other side. So I really feel like that's going to create, like I said, a realistic form of boxing gaming, but also it's going to create realistic movements, which will allow people to fight in a way that is going to showcase realistic boxing. I don't know if that made any sense at all, but I just feel like having this footwork is going to enhance the simulation aspect of a boxing game.
So we're really excited about this new feature that we've put into the movement system, and it's giving the player the ability to showboat and actually display some of the mannerisms that some of the marquee fighters will have. So if you've seen Roy Jones Jr. fight, I'm sure you're probably thinking now some of the things that you might be able to do with a fighter like Roy Jones Jr. or even Muhammad Ali. So it really opens up the possibilities. This feature is toggled by pressing up on the D-pad and moving the left stick around in the direction that you want to go. So what this does is it brings out the unique movements for the boxer. This is a combination of showboating and the odd feint within the movement. This is all part of the boxer's personality. Some boxers will have more feints in their loose movement, some boxers will have more of a showboating style. Here you can see Lawrence Accordi feinting a punch but then lands a nicely timed left hook. This is something that is toggled seamlessly, going from loose movement back into your normal stance and vice versa. This is something we're building out for some of our marquee fighters in the game, but overall it adds another level of realism and tactics into the mix within Esports Boxing Club.
All I have to say is this is incredible. Having this feature in this game, allowing every boxer to be personalized, is something that we've been waiting for quite some time in combat sport games, man. It is so refreshing to see that if you toggle the D-pad, did you guys notice in the top right corner that the D-pad was hit up? And when it was hit up, you can see the very unique movements of the boxers. And I really feel like when you do this, obviously it's going to create that very personalized feel of the boxer that you selected, but it's also going to create a different look for your opponent, because he or she's going to see you moving around a little bit differently. It may create some openings for you too, and it may have your opponent maybe overcommit on some punches and will give you openings. So all I'm saying, with this cool feature, it really creates that personalized feel that we've been wishing for forever, and now it's finally here. So I'm so happy that they added this feature.
Dodging punches will also be possible by flicking the left stick in the direction that you want to go. Combining this with time counters will be key. However, this isn't a case of just initiating a dodge when you realize a punch is coming. You have to anticipate the punch, learn your opponent's patterns and fight styles. Here you can see Lyndon Arthur dodging Lawrence Accordi's punches. However, if you do it too early, you could get yourself into trouble, so timing is key. Also, dodges will look different depending on which fighter you select. The marquee fighters will have a different style. Activating the loose movement modifier will also change how your dodge will look, as you can see here.
You know, I just want to say I'm so happy that they added the flicking feature by flicking the left analog to dodge punches, just because I feel like it's a hard skill to master, and when you do master it, it's going to be so satisfying to avoid your opponent's punches by flicking the left analog stick. I can't wait to do that, and I like how they added that element of fear, you know what I mean? Because if you do it wrong, you're really going to get clocked and you're really going to get wobbled, man. As you see here in this clip, Arthur's looking pretty good, dodging those punches, and if you time it wrong, if you kind of do it too early or do it too late, the game's gonna make you pay, man. And I feel like that simulates real boxing, as you see him on his skates wobbling around. That's a cool animation. So I like that, the flicking of the left analog stick. And remember, let me know in the comments what you think of this. And I like how it's different depending on which type of boxer. The marquee boxers are going to have different movements, and that's going to create that personalized feel that I was just talking about. So that's great.
Another move in the player's defensive arsenal is the ability to weave. This is activated by holding down the left trigger whilst moving the left stick in the direction you want to weave. So here you can see Lyndon Arthur dodging some of Lawrence Accordi's punches. It can also be used as a tactic off the ropes, and you can also block while you weave as well. Here you can see Lawrence Accordi hitting Lyndon Arthur with some counter shots, whilst Lyndon Arthur's throwing a lot of punches using a lot of stamina. It's clear to see here that Lawrence is playing a defensive game, trying to make Lyndon miss as much as possible so that he uses up all his stamina. This is because the stamina has a big impact in terms of punch resistance and the power of your own punch.
Now the weave modifier is really cool, and as you see here, if you use it right, you're really going to be able to kind of gas out your opponent. Did you see here? Look at Lawrence's heart rate. It's way up there in the hundreds as he's missing. And then as you see in this clip right here, Arthur's missing as well, and his heart rate is really up there at 170. So if you're able to kind of stay in that pocket and weave correctly and understand your opponent's movements, you can really kind of gas them out. And you know what's another cool thing? How you can have your block up when this is happening. So it's not really a super risky thing to do, especially if you are starting to time your opponents. You can keep your block up and weave and create that opportunity to counterfight. I love that. But as far as that knockout animation's concerned, I really feel like they got to work on that little knockout animation. It looked kind of funny, but all in all, man, this is looking amazing. Let's move on.
In addition to being able to weave, players will also now be able to slip punches by pushing the left stick in the direction they want to perform the slip. This is a very quick and efficient way of dodging punches, adding to your defensive game.
Now, I gotta say, the slips are looking very smooth, man. They are looking very smooth, and I'm glad they added this to the game, just because adding slips to the game will create that chess match aspect to the boxing experience. What I mean by that, if you're able to move your head off of that center line, it's going to get your opponent, if they're smart, to not throw too many jabs, too many straights your way if you keep on moving your head off that center line. So it's going to make them think twice about their attacks, but it's also going to give you an opportunity to think twice about your counterattacks. So having slips in this game, and it looks so smooth, I feel like it's going to really add to the experience.
So the block system in ESBC has two options. Fully manual, which is 3 points on the head, 3 points on the body, left, center and right, that you can block by holding down the right trigger and moving the right stick. There's a semi-automatic mode as well, which will require you to block either the head or the body. We feel by having both of these options, players who want a deeper simulation can select the manual mode, whilst the players who prefer for a more arcade feel can select the semi-automatic mode instead.
So I have to say, adding the manual feature when it comes to blocking is so cool to have in a combat sports game. I don't think we've ever seen something like this before. And as the gentleman said, you have to worry about 3 points to the body and 3 points to the head. So you have to worry about your body, the left, the right, and the center, and the same thing with your head. And I really feel like that's going to create an even more realistic feel to the boxing simulation, especially when you're playing online. And I'm hoping in online they have it as manual only when it comes to blocking, especially when it comes to ranked. Having that fear when you get into an online fight is so, I don't know how to say it. It's kind of so satisfying just because it makes it even more realistic. So if they have the manual blocking feature, I feel like it will enhance the whole experience, especially when you're fighting people online, when you're fighting a real opponent and you have to worry about those 6 different areas. It's going to be just so much fun to experience.
So we're pleased to confirm that players will be able to throw punches whilst blocking. Whilst these punches aren't as powerful as throwing a punch without blocking, it opens up another aspect of defense for the player. You can throw a jab and a straight whilst holding the block button and flicking the right stick, selecting the desired punch.
See, I have to say, this is my kind of style, man. Blocking my head and just touching my opponent. That will fall right into my kind of style of boxing. So I'm glad that they have that in the game. I wonder how it would go if you just continue doing that in a fight. Obviously, you're not going to win by first or second round knockout, but you may win the fight, man. And this is what I was saying before. Having all these different features, having all these different options in terms of a fighting style will create just such a cool experience when you go and venture online, because everybody's going to have a very unique style. So this is something that I'm going to utilize in my game plan for sure.
So combinations play a very important role in ESBC. Each fighter has a total of 42 punches, so you have to be able to put these together. Whether they're from your front foot, the back foot, where it's going from the head to the body, or whether it's stepping away. So combining this together had to feel satisfying. It had to be seamless, where you're able to pick any punch you want, throw it from any angle you want to, and put together at least 2 different punches into a combination.
Holy smokes, man. 42 punches exist in every single boxer in this game. That's crazy. That's quite a number of different styles of punches. It's nuts. As far as the combinations are concerned, I still feel like they need to add a little more zip on the punches. I feel like it's improved since the last footage that we've seen, but I don't know. Let me know if you agree with me on that one. I feel like they need to add just more torque in these punches. It doesn't seem like it's landing the amount of damage that I want to see. But let me know if you agree with that. But as far as the variety in terms of your combinations, that's fantastic. But the main thing I want to see is just a little more zip on these punches. It's getting there, and I am confident that they're going to fix it. But I feel like they just need to amp it up a little bit. Let me know if you agree with that.
So because flash knockdowns and one-punch knockouts exist in ESBC, you have to really pick your shots. You can't throw too wildly, and you can't leave yourself open, because if you do so, the game will punish you for not taking into account your opponent's playstyle. So right now we're working heavily on individual punches and custom movesets. Here you can see Lawrence Agolli throwing his jab, his right hook, his left hook, and it looks distinctively different to the other fighters in the game. So this is something we're focused on. We want to allow players to pick and choose certain punches from different movesets to essentially create their own for their own fighters.
I'm glad they added the flash knockdowns in the game, just because it's going to make people take the game seriously. You know what I mean? Like, you can't just go into a fight throwing crazy bombs like rock'em sock'em robots, not worrying too much about getting hurt. If you do that, the fight will end. I just hope it doesn't happen too often, but from what we see here and from what what I've been reading, and hopefully you've been reading about the game, it's not something that's going to happen all the time if you fight properly. But if you're reckless, flash knockdowns will occur. I'm just hoping that it just doesn't happen too often.
So right now we're working heavily on individual punches and custom movesets. Here you can see Lawrence Agolli throwing his jab, his right hook, his left hook, and it looks distinctively different to the other fighters in the game. So this is something we're focused on. We want to allow players to pick and choose certain punches from different movesets to essentially create their own for their own fighters.
So I'm now going to talk about one of our main philosophies in the studio, which is innovation. One of the things we wanted to recreate in ESBC was the ability for a fighter to be dangerous even whilst they're hurt. You might want to rush in and try and finish them off, but as we all know, in boxing, one punch can change everything.
That's nice that they added that feature of always kind of being susceptible to getting hurt in a fight. So you have to be very careful when it comes to finishing off your opponent, just because your opponent could counter and hurt you and the tables could turn just like that. And that simulates a real fight too. So when you have your opponent hurt, still stick to the game plan, man. Still be very calculated with your shots. Don't just load up on a big bomb, because if you miss, your opponent can counter and the fight could be done. After you've been so close to tasting victory, the fight could totally turn and you could lose. So I like that fear factor that they have, that you may get hurt while you're trying to finish off your opponent. Now, I won't dive into too much of the career stats, but here is a clip of some of the details of the career mode.
Whilst we're talking about innovation, I want to take you through some of the career stats that we've introduced in ESBC. So this covers everything from health to stamina, conditioning, agility. We do have a couple of interesting stats that haven't really been done before in combat sports. So we have a discipline stat and we also have a confidence stat. Now, whilst this was a very UI driven part of the game, we've decided to start developing an interactive career hub.
All right, everybody, that is it. There you have it, man. Holy smokes, that was the best gameplay footage that they've released so far. We really got to see some of the fine details of the gameplay that we've been waiting for, that we've been asking for, and I am excited, man. I don't know about you. I want to know in the comments, are you excited? Are you happy with what you saw? I'm very happy. Like I said, I just want to see a little more zip on those punches, but everything looks pretty good so far. I cannot wait to hear your thoughts on the whole game and how things are developing. Keep it locked here, man, on Ricky J Sports, and I'll give you guys more ESBC content. All right, people, I'm out of here. Hope you're doing well. Peace and love. Take care.